We are looking at Ethereum weekly candles, and Ethereum established a very strong trend line in April 2025. And you can see right now, as we speak, Ethereum is at a make or break level that has serious implications for Altseason. But it's not just the price. The RSI has also entered the oversold zone. And what does the ETH Bitcoin chart mean for Altseason? So like I said, the first thing we're going to look at is the weekly stochastic RSI. So what happens every time the RSI hits oversold? Because this is saying things are about to get very bullish. Last time the RSI was at this level, Ethereum pumped 250% in 5 months. Is that what we're seeing? So I pulled up the RSI, the stochastic RSI right here, and we are at a very, very major inflection point. You can see the shorter term moving average about to cross over the longer term moving average. And I highlighted every time we've seen this with Ethereum, at least the last 5 times. So if you look right here, we did get a fake out where the blue line went above the orange line, but then we created a huge mega rally. If you jumped in when the blue line first crossed over, similar to where we're at today, ETH would be very, very close to a bottom. So you might see another, 20-25% decline, but then ETH went on to pump 250%. But you can also see it right here, and you can see it right here. This time there was no fake out. That essentially was a bottom for Ethereum. And if you look, this is also very close to the bottom, but still preceding a pretty significant rally. Let's go all the way back to 2021 because we're seeing the same thing. In fact, the bear market vibes that I'm feeling right now, very similar to, a little bit closer to these ranges. Now, if you look here, after ETH had its huge pump, and this is the kind of the March, April crash, crashing into May, found a little bit of a bottom in July, RSI crossed over, ended up creating a fairly significant rally. ETH would pump 160%. Even during the bear market. This is the bear market. ETH tops out right here. Literal bear market, you would still be able to get a stochastic pump. Blue line crosses over. Even with the fake out, you are down a little bit. Wicks about 10% lower. Then you'd be able to, walk away with a 36% pump. So if you're wondering, why is Bitcoin not going up? Why is ETH not going up while we're seeing the S&P and gold break higher? Well, these are the same conversations we had in the summer of 2020. But a lot of you maybe weren't around back then. This is from Matthew Hyland. He says ChatGPT remembers that sentiment exactly. Recommend you go follow him. And you know what? He's gonna, he follows. Hey, what do you know? He follows me as well. In the summer of 2020, many wondered why Bitcoin wasn't moving while the S&P 500 and gold hit new all-time highs. Stocks had fully recovered from the COVID crash, and gold surged past $2,000 amid the record stimulus and inflation fears. Meanwhile, Bitcoin lingered around 9 to 12K, still below its 2017 peak. Crypto Twitter and investors questioned if Bitcoin had lost momentum or missed its macro moment. Ironically, that doubt marked the final accumulation phase before Bitcoin broke out in late 2020, smashing 20K and launching the next major bull run. Doubt often comes right before the breakout. And right now, we are in that doubtful period, and this is exactly the same vibes that we felt in summer of 2020. I want to give a quick shout out to LBank Exchange. It is my favorite exchange to start trading all of the hottest meme coins and all of the latest altcoins. And over at LBank, you can do spot trading, or you can do futures, perpetuals trading, and we're going to have a link down below, as well as tutorial on the top of our YouTube page. There are tons of features here on LBank. They have 24/7 customer support, tons of volume, millions of customers, and they're serving over 200 countries. So go ahead, open up an account, deposit some funds, and start your trading journey. But this is the last chart that I want to show you, determining whether or not is there going to be an alt season. And I think I found a very, very good light at the end of the tunnel. You can see ETH Bitcoin, has been in a very significant downtrend. In fact, at one point we thought, this is the downtrend line for you to worry about. This is January 2018. We came up, we touched it December of 21. This was also September 22, little mini alt rally. But now we've established a new trend line, a much more bearish trend line for alt season for Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. That's this line right here. But let me give you the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, one thing I noticed, the rally from 2017, ETH found a bottom, in my opinion, a lot later than a lot of people were expecting. So if we come in from that top right here, it would take a significant time for ETH to break its downtrend. Kind of crabbed around sideways, wicked a little lower there. But I would say right here, the true end of, ETH just bleeding, this is when alt started to overperform. This is when it was fun to be in crypto. This was 1,386 days later. And if you want to measure the bottom, I mean, you could say, you know, those around 1,000 days later. But this wick right here, about 1,295 days. Well, if you look at ETH recently, this is ETH Bitcoin recently. And if you look right now, we are 1,400 days away from the previous all-time high. So 1,400 days after this, that's when alts started to get exciting. But this is also when people felt most bearish. If you look right now, we're about 1,400 days away. This could be when alts start to look a little bit exciting. I would keep an eye out on this ETH Bitcoin trading pair. This is a very, very strong floor. We might end up retesting it. And so just something to keep on your radar. But if you look right here, you know, we came down, we did touch it twice. Here, we've only touched it once. There you go. Are we in an alt season? I do think alts are going to overperform. Are we going to see it right now? Well, if you go to that stochastic weekly RSI, we might see a few weeks of pain. We might see that 10% dip, 25% dip. I'm not going to say, you know, this was the bottom, but all signs to me are pointing brighter skies ahead. I'm DZ4 Discover Crypto. Hopefully I'll see you in your ETH at the top.